Long ago, in a quaint Swiss village nestled in the shadow of the Matterhorn, there lived a boy named Lukas. Every morning, he would rise with the dawn, his feet bare as they pattered across the grassy hillsides. His family was poor, but Lukas found a quiet kind of happiness in tending to his sheep and watching the majestic peak of the Matterhorn rise into the sky. It was a beacon, a challenge, and a dream all wrapped into one imposing silhouette that dominated his view of the world. While others saw the Matterhorn as an insurmountable wall of rock and ice, Lukas saw hope. He saw a mountain waiting to be conquered. One autumn evening, after spending the day high in the alpine meadows with his sheep, Lukas lay on the hillside and stared up at the mountain. Its snow-dusted crown glowed pink in the setting sun, and Lukas' heart swelled with longing. He had heard the stories, tales of travelers who tried and failed, whispers of great adventurers who dared to climb but never returned. It was dangerous, impossible even, his parents always said, but a quiet voice in his heart insisted that he was meant to stand atop that peak. One morning, without telling anyone, Lukas gathered what little he could carry, a length of rope, a loaf of bread, and a coat his mother had sewn from old wool, and set out for the mountain. He was just a shepherd boy, and he knew nothing of climbing, of ice or cold or the risks that lay ahead. But his determination, forged by years of longing, would prove stronger than any hardship he might face. The climb was treacherous, the rocks were sharp, the path uncertain. At times, the bitter wind howled around him, chilling him to his core. But each time doubt crept into his mind, Lukas looked up at the peak, so close yet still so far, and found his courage again. The mountain seemed to test him, as if it were alive, throwing challenges his way, crumbling rocks under his hands, sudden storms, icy ledges. And yet, step by step, he climbed higher. His hands were numb, his legs ached, but still he did not stop. Finally, after what felt like days of struggle, Lukas reached the summit. The air was thin, and the world stretched out beneath him, a sea of endless snow-capped peaks and valleys cloaked in shadows. He stood there, breathless, his heart pounding not from the exertion but from the overwhelming beauty of it all. In that moment, Lukas was not just a shepherd, he was something more. He was a dreamer who had dared to make his dream real. He shouted with joy, his voice echoing into the vast sky, and for a moment, it felt as if the whole world was listening. When Lukas finally descended and returned to the village, exhausted but glowing, the villagers were stunned. They gathered around to hear his story, disbelief and awe written on their faces. Even his mother, who had been so worried, couldn't help but smile as she hugged him tight. Lukas had done what no one thought possible. He had climbed the Matterhorn, but as the days passed, something unexpected happened. Lukas, who had once been content with the simple life of a shepherd, found that his heart no longer belonged only to the hills and the sheep. The mountain had changed him. It had shown him how vast the world could be, how full of adventure and possibility. He began to dream of other peaks, of distant lands, of places he had never imagined before. The village was his home, but the mountains had become his calling. Years later, when travelers came through the village, they would hear the story of the shepherd boy who climbed the Matterhorn. They would look up at the mountain, now just a little less daunting, and wonder if perhaps they too could make their dreams come true. And Lukas? He was no longer just a shepherd boy. He had become a mountaineer, a seeker of dreams, forever chasing the next horizon, with the spirit of the Matterhorn guiding him wherever he went.